Welcome. I'm your host, Dustin. Today, here to review another movie that came out this week. It is The Haunted Mansion 2023. So, before we jump into spoilers and all that good stuff, let me run down the plot, some of the ratings, and then my overall thoughts on the film. Then we can jump into some key points that I want to hit. So, let's go over to IMDb. I always like to try to trust the synopsis. Sometimes it can be good, sometimes it can be really bad. So today, what they have for the Haunted Mansion is a single mom named Gabby hires a tour guide, a psychic, a priest, and a historian to help exorcise her newly bought mansion after discovering it is inhabited by ghosts. Okay. It's kind of the hiring part on that. I'm a bit I don't know how I feel about that. But the IMDb score is a 6.3 out of 10. So, slightly above average. Now this is where it gets a little rocky. On Rotten Tomatoes, critic score 39% and audience score 84. Okay. Let me quickly look to see if there's any other. Okay, so here we go. We have the budget. So, oh wait, no, that's not the budget. That's the box office. Well, in the box office, as of right now, as it is on Rotten Tomatoes, it is 24.1 million. I don't see a budget on here. Normally when they release a box office amount, they usually budget, which is a bit weird, but that's okay. The runtime, 2 hours and 3 minutes. I think it's 2 hours too long. No, I'm just kidding. So my overall thoughts on this before we start jumping into a lot of other things is, I was kind of excited for this when the first trailer dropped that Dean and I reacted to. And I thought it was going to be, a lot bigger and better than the Eddie Murphy one back in 2003, I think. So it's been 20 years, between them all. And I went into this, a bit excited, and then the movie started playing, and then my expectations of this being held a bit higher went kind of low. Just because of how the story was. I also had a really hard time remembering everybody's, like, even till like right now, I don't really remember anybody's name other than Ben. And that's not a good thing when you're watching a 2 hour plus film and you're still saying, okay, what's their name again? I don't remember. And it's also got a really big cast. You got Owen Wilson, Lakeith Stanfield, Rosario Dawson, Danny DeVito, Jamie Lee Curtis, Jared Leto, which I'm not going to say anything about that. But I don't know. Like, I've been sitting on this and thinking, like, do I want to go see this movie again? Should I give it another shot? Did I not enjoy it so much because I was holding it up to the Eddie Murphy version? I don't know. And to be completely honest, as much as I want to give this another chance, I think I'm going to wait for it to come to streaming. I really, really do. It was an okay theater experience. The theater was not super full and not super empty either. We went, like the middle of a day on Friday, or was it a Saturday? It might have been Saturday. And it was fun. There's a lot of kids there. Obviously, this is more of a family film, even though I believe it is rated PG-13. But it's definitely it's a Disney film, so of course you're gonna bring your family there. But I was hoping, even though this was Disney, and even though it had the PG-13 rating on, I wanted it to be really spooky. And you know, part of it was kind of spooky. But at the same time, it wasn't. They were playing it really, really safe. And I'm just gonna say this right now, and this might be a really, really hot take. I felt like this was not a good use of the cast that they had. They had a lot of really good actors in this film. And a lot of them I felt like weren't really being used to their full potential. They were using Owen Wilson, essentially as Owen Wilson. And Danny DeVito was maybe like the only like really funny one out of the whole movie. But we'll get into more of it in a second. But I don't want what I'm saying to keep people from watching this. No, I want you to go, especially if you haven't seen the original one with Eddie Murphy. Go watch this one, and then if you want to, go watch the Eddie Murphy version. I personally, going out of this, I have to give it to the Eddie Murphy movie more, just because of how crazy that film went. And this film did go pretty crazy. But I think it played really, really. And I guess with that being said, before we start going into spoilers and everything, I want to go ahead and second our sponsors. Thank you guys for tuning in for that sponsor. Seriously, thank you so much, W. They're great. They've been getting me through the day. And they also kind of kept me up through this film. So let's get back to Haunted Mansion. So it's a 2-hour movie. So there's a lot of things that happen in it, right? With any film, there's so much that happens. But one thing that I wish that they didn't do was when the family that get this mansion, right? Or they buy this mansion. It's a mother and a son. They made it too comical. They were building this up to be pretty spooky when they get into the house. What is the son's name? I always forget. I know Gabby's the mother. Travis. Travis is the son. So when Travis goes in there, he's like telling his mom, like, "Oh my god, this place is haunted." There's a painting behind him, and it was building up to some really good suspense and some really creepy imagery. As he goes into this room, there's cobwebs everywhere, and you see this painting of like this bride, and then he covers it up with like his blanket, and then he turns around and he's looking at things and it's coming down, and then the painting itself was moving. It was getting really creepy. And I was like, oh, this is gonna be cool. If that comes to life right now and like chases him down, I'm all for it. And that's what I was really wanting to happen. I really wanted it to be like that. Yeah, I don't know. I felt like it was just a big waste of suspense when the payoff, kind of happens. Well, there isn't even really a payoff. It's just that the sheet falls down and then bride's not there, and then he runs downstairs in his suit of armor, essentially life. It doesn't really do anything. It just stands there, and then they tell his mom, "Mom, this place is haunted." She's like, "Oh no, it's not." And then she turns around and she sees that there's a suit of armor there, and then they run out. So I feel like they were really trying to capture the moment when in the Eddie Murphy movie, when they go there, things go really crazy. They do run out, but then I'm pretty sure they come back. And then before all this, we get introduced to Ben and his wife. What's her? I think it was Alyssa, maybe. I forget. Like this, I don't remember. But his wife, like we get introduced to him when he was younger, and then he says to her, "Oh, I'm like I work on lenses. I'm a scientist essentially who creates like these lenses, and he's trying to." I think at this point he's trying to make some sort of lens that can see the dead or something like that. And she's a tour guide of like spooky things, so it's kind of happening and whatnot. But then we find out like later on, 5 years later, and doing this tour guide thing to kind of make ends meet, but he hasn't really done anything in his field for a long time. And then he meets this priest, who's Father Kent, who's played by Owen Wilson. Really, really wanted to like his character because I mean, Owen Wilson, he's Owen Wilson, dude. Wow. No, but I don't know if he actually says "wow" in this film at all. Maybe he does once, and like early on, like I was really paying attention to Owen every time he was on screen. I'm like, oh, is he gonna say it? Are they gonna make him say it? And I don't think he ever did. But yeah. So he tells Ben about, oh, this family moved in, and they want someone to go and tell them like that the place is haunted and blah 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 blah. And he's like, I know that you have this camera and all this other stuff, and just go tell them. He goes there, and then like this is so stupid. He drives all the way there, like, okay, he drives all the way there after digging out his camera that's supposed to quote unquote see the dead, that he made 5 years ago. Without checking anything on it, he just grabs the lens and goes. Gets to the place, and then, oh no, it has no batteries. And this is how they get everything else rolling, because his fucking camera has no batteries. If his camera had batteries and he took pictures of these ghosts, I don't think anybody else would have been roped in to being at this place other than Father Kent. And the reason why I say that, and we are in spoilers, this is all spoilers, is that when you go into the house, you essentially get your world possessed. So things around you, like a ghost, will latch onto you and essentially tell you, you need to come back. You have to come back because of the hat box ghost, who is essentially the one who's running the whole mansion. So when you leave, like after Ben leaves, even Gabby is like, before you go in here, I just want to let you know that this could essentially change your whole life. Like, oh no, it's fine. And he goes around, takes pictures, and he's just going like he's like making sound effects and stuff. Even though that they clearly know that he's not taking pictures. But yeah, he's like, oh no, it's not haunted at all. And then he goes home. He sees this picture while he's at the mansion of like this captain on a boat or something, and then he goes home, and everything kind of gets weird because he's watching TV and then it keeps switching to The Deadliest Catch, and then you're like, oh, okay, so the guy who followed him home, well, the ghost that followed him home was the captain of the ship and whatever. Then he starts realizing things are weird, and then he takes a picture and he sees that it's on his couch. And then later on, the whole house gets filled up with water, and then he gets like blown out, and then says, you need to come back or something like that. So he manages to go back, and then he ropes in all these other people. So you have Harriet, who is a medium. You got Father Kent, and then you have Danny DeVito, who is Bruce Davis, who is like a historian of sorts, and he knows a lot of things about the houses in the area, especially this house. And then we start covering more things and realizing that this house is possessed because there's spirits here that are locked due to Matt Hatbox, who we find out is Crump, and he needs, I think, 1,000 souls, and he's at like 999 at this point. But his last soul needs to be willing, and all this other stuff, and a lot of plot. Then Travis and Ben, I think it's just Ben and Father Kent, they decide that they have to go to this open house on Crump's, not an open house, a tour of Crump's house, because they find out that you need an artifact or something of the spirit to get him banished, essentially. know, in all this, like, yeah, there are spooky ghosts and things going on, but not really. There's not really a lot of spookiness. They kind of just like bunker down in like the living room area, and they say, "Oh, don't go anywhere else because it's not safe." And then if you go anywhere after midnight, it's when he's most powerful. No, on a full moon after midnight, it's when Crump or the Hat Box ghost is more powerful. Like I said, there's a lot of plot and things in the way, and it's just very Disney, very safe, not really trying to push anything, in my opinion. It's like they were like, okay, we have this IP, everybody loves the Haunted Mansion. Let's just make it really tame. And the one part I'm happy that it was, and the only reason why I'm saying, my son, now he loves the spooky things, but when it comes to movies, he doesn't like to watch them because they get too scary. So he just likes to watch people dress up, spooky things, or watch people with toys, or behind the scenes videos, or other people talking about movies and stuff. And like, I was like, oh, this is not going to be scary. And I'm happy that it really wasn't, for his sake. But for me, as a horror fan, I wanted it to be a bit more, especially since it was rated PG-13. But back to the whole Crump thing, when they have to go to his estate, they find his hat that's down in the basement or somewhere. And this is a house that has been torn so much and torn all apart, except for this one little thing underneath the fireplace. And you lift it up, and oh, guess what? You go underneath, and there's a grave of everybody Crump has killed, including his hat and skull, because his head was cut off. You think that this establishment or company that took over his estate would have probably found that, but then again, plot. They take the hat back, and they're like, okay, let's do this. And they round up all the ghosts, and they taunt them. They get Crump. Then there's some other things, they find a crystal ball as well that has Jamie Lee Curtis's head in it, and they find out that was a medium that William Gracie, and his family who owned it. He used this medium, Jamie Lee Curtis, to what was it? I need to find out what the hell is the medium that's played by Jamie Lee Curtis. Madame Leota. So essentially, he was trapped in a ball and has to be let out. Help. So Harriet has to do things and blah 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 blah. More plot. Then we kind of get towards the end of the film when everybody's united, and then Ben's the one that's supposed to be taken because that's the one Crump wants and most willing because of how depressed he is, sad he is because of his wife, and we find out all about that stuff. But then we get no, I am depressed and I am sad, but stronger with them. Essentially being like, okay, screw you, and then they get Crump dead. Essentially, they get him back into the ground, and things are all okay. Stay in the house, family stays in the house, and Ben essentially starts to live. That's the gist of this film. It's an okay film. It's Disney as fuck. All right, it is Disney as fuck. Modern Disney, anyway. I feel like the Eddie Murphy movie went a bit harder, went more emotional, and went scarier at points. But this one was okay. So I'd say watch it anyway. Go support it, whatever it may be. Unless you are just completely, totally anti this Haunted Mansion and you only want the Eddie Murphy one, which I can understand. But as a family-friendly movie, I guess I'd give it, on that scale, what I'm going to rate it, I'd give it a 7.5 out of 10, I think. As a family-friendly movie, you want to throw something on with your kids, something that's not going to traumatize them or anything, sure, 7.5 for that. But for me personally, it was so safe, I have to give it like a 4.5. I really do, personally. 4.5. I really wanted it to go a lot harder. than it was. And like I said, I think it was like a waste of a good cast. It really, really was, especially for a long runtime. We could have shaved off at least 15, 20 minutes of this easily. Easily. But it was okay. It was okay. It was like slightly below average for me. So if you guys have seen this, let me know what you think. If you want to see it, did this review persuade you to, or kind of make you want to wait for streaming? I'm always really curious about that. And also, huge thank you to our sponsor, Dubby. Make sure you guys are using that code BHOPOD at checkout for 10% off. I don't know, guys. I feel like Disney and all these other big movie companies are just slipping lately. You really have to stick with the indie guys, you know? You really, really do. That's where it is. And a lot of these streaming services are picking up all these exclusives from indie films. I feel like that's just where it's at. As much as I love going to the theater, it's just there's been a lot of really shit stuff coming out this year, especially as a horror fan. You know, I guess we have to wait for the last half of the year to see what's going on. But thank you guys so much for being here, and hopefully you enjoyed this review. Let me know about of the Haunted Mansion. See you next one.